One. Oh wow! It just recorded. I okay. You know what? In my test run, it bounced the guests back into the green room, and then they came back in. So I was curious, but I guess it didn't do that for
Even
you.
easier.
All right. Well, Jason, glad to have you on here, man. And for the viewers, this is Jason Lee from Option Swing, an online trading community. Excited to do this. This is actually our first episode of Alternative Investment Podcast. So, Jason,
Thanks
again,
for
thanks.
having me, Jackson. I appreciate you having me on the show.
And a little context to what Jason and I were just talking about before I clicked record is we've been speaking for the last 3 years. There's a little bit of a hiatus, but we spoke a while ago about our auto trader and everything,
That's right.
and then reached back out to you to get on the show, and you happen to be the first guest. So how this show will go: quick show, 15 minutes. If it goes over, all good, no worries. And you'll notice me for the viewers. I'm probably going to be glancing down a lot. I have a list of questions here for Jason. Um, about 5 or 10 questions, nothing crazy. We'll keep it light, but yeah, let's dive right into this. You ready?
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm ready.
All right, cool. And also for the viewers, I did not send Jason these questions beforehand. This is all unscripted. Yeah, uncut.
That's absolutely right.
All right. So obviously you're part of Option Swings. What made you start the organization? You guys have been around since 2019. So what made you start it?
Yeah, so we've been around for a little while. A little bit of my backstory is I used to work at Salesforce for just about 7 years. And towards the later years of me working there, I used to work remotely, had a lot of downtime during the day, and inevitably just traded a lot. And so for me, just trading, and naturally my close group of friends at the time, just kind of getting curious and seeing me doing it. And so saying, hey, kind of, can you show me what you're doing and how these apps works and all that kind of stuff. And then a few just kind of started turning to a few more, and then it kind of turned into me realizing, hey, there might be something behind this, that I could maybe create into some kind of business, or maybe some kind of educational platform at the least. So I ended up starting an Instagram channel. And on that Instagram channel, every day I would just create my own content, post every day consistently. And in our first month, we got about 1,000 followers. And then in our second month, we got about 2,000 followers, all organic. And then at that point, we started getting a lot of DMs of people asking about Discord and what our Discord server invite was and all that good stuff. But at the time, I wasn't very familiar with Discord, and how that all worked. And Jackson, I know you for sure are probably familiar with Discord at this point, but maybe for some of the listeners out there that might not be as familiar, Discord is an engagement platform that allows you to do text, audio, video. You can live stream a class in there, each week. You can honestly build a lot of value inside of this private community that would justify being able to charge a subscription for, which is ultimately what made me decide, hey, this is maybe the route to go, which is the community model, doing education in a private setting, and then being able to do a subscription model around it.
Yep, yep. And correct me if I'm wrong too. I think you guys are one of the larger groups out there.
That is right. So a little
Congratulations.
bit of our story in terms of growth. So right about that time when we started getting a lot of DMs, I understood that there was a lot of interest of people who would want to sign up for a service like this. And this was August of 2019, so pre-pandemic, and everything like that. But the only problem to all of this is the other side of the equation, which is how do you actually go about getting someone from your website, getting them to a checkout screen, collecting that payment, sending them into Discord, applying all the permissions and roles so that they can see all the proper channels that they paid for. And then ultimately, how do you close that cycle where you allow them to exit the community once their subscription ends while giving them all the self serviceability so that they're not constantly coming to you saying, hey, how do I cancel? How do I upgrade? How do I update my payments? And all that kind of stuff. So that's what we all ultimately had to kind of figure out is how do we solve the technology layer of it to build a business. But what we did was, with my kind of engineering background and taking a developer who actually ended up becoming our CTO, we ended up building a platform in house, launching the business on it. And we went from $0 to 1 million in ARR in 10 months. And then it took us a year and a half at our year and a half point to get to 1.5 million. And then to date, we've done just about 4.6 million in revenue. So definitely, cruising along, and I would consider us one of the larger folks in the space for sure.
Hell yeah, man.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Jackson.
And you know what's cool too is you guys started pre-pandemic, and I'm sure you've seen this too. a lot of groups, a lot of Discord specific groups
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
popped up during that pandemic. And then now, where are they at? And you guys are still around.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And that's part of the the importance of this is as long as you build a strong brand for yourself, as long as you do the right things around marketing, the product always speaks for itself at the end of the day. So being a product led company is how I always tend to run both my businesses. But more than anything is the importance of having good service or a good product so that people stay for many years to come.
Yeah, yeah. And I know prior to this call, you said, "Hey, I haven't really been trading, just been working on the businesses." But in your Discord, what trends did you see during the pandemic? Like trading trends, things like that. If you're in there reading, whatever's going on with your analysts and everything, what trends did you see during the pandemic?
Sure. So, regarding some trends, I think when you look at the trading community as a whole, you really have kind of beginners, intermediates, and then advanced traders. And during that time, especially early 2021, when GameStop was getting really hot and a lot of people were coming to the markets, you started seeing a lot of beginner people coming in. Before, because of the content that we're posting, and because this was pre-pandemic, and not as many people were necessarily interested in trading at the time, our audience was a lot more kind of focused on the intermediate to advanced traders, folks who could kind of come right into our community, understand what we're talking about right away, be able to start joining in on the conversation, do some technical analysis, etc. But after the whole kind of 2021 early, GameStop kind of craze, because of the number of retail investors that came into the market, especially from a beginner level, we started seeing the trend that rather than trying to educate more on the intermediate side of the house, we needed to focus more on the beginner side of the house to help graduate those folks to become more intermediate traders and thus becoming more long-term customers for us. So really, it's just the growing trend of how many new people are coming in wanting to learn how to invest and do trading on the side, especially to their main jobs.
I'm assuming Robinhood had a big play in that as well, right? It's a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
new traders. They just download the app. They don't need like necessarily a really good computer, 16 monitors. They really just use their phone and they're good to go, right?
that's absolutely right. And I think the beauty to all of that is, a lot of times people think you need complicated trade stations, you need, multiple monitor setups, and you need a whole office setup, in order to be successful. But really, it depends on what kind of trader you want to be, whether you want to be a day trader or a swing trader or a long-term trader or what have you. But the bottom foundational point to all of it is that, you only have so many hours in a day. And if you're working your main job from 9 to 5, that's really all of your hours consumed during that time period. However, if you have the ability to also invest during that time, where on your phone, literally through the Robinhood app, you can just open that up, buy a position at 9:30 in the morning, check at it, check on it maybe at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and hopefully, if it's up, you could technically exit that day. But really, having done no physical labor or any manual labor, but still being able to net income during the time that you're still working your main job is just an incredible opportunity that a lot of people have to take advantage of.
All right. So for the next question here, now this kind of piggybacks off of you said you had a lot of new people and a lot of people that didn't really know what was going on. So
Sure.
what were your methods with guiding your members to become successful investors?
So I think there's a lot of different areas to trading that people have to overcome in order to become more successful. And I think one of the hardest areas is the emotions of trading. And so, one of the top, every exactly, and I see you nodding as well. And the classic, saying that people always say is, "Oh, you can't get emotional with your trades. Oh, you can't be an emotional trader. Oh, you have to take emotion out of it, etc." But we as human beings are emotional creatures, so it's not so simple to be able to turn a light switch on and off, especially when it comes to something as important as money, a physical resource in our lives. And so when it comes to us managing that resource, especially with the amount of risk that comes with trading, it does become stressful. It does sometimes become emotional. And so one of the hardest things that any new trader has to learn is to understand how to control those emotions. It's not necessarily become emotionless, it's control your emotions better. Because there's a lot of times where people will have FOMO, and people will decide, hey, I want to jump in on this, even though I have no idea what's going on. I don't even know what the company does, but hey, everyone says it looks good, so let's do it. only to then find out it goes south, you lose money, and you don't even know why you even lost money in the first place, which is even the worst part of it, right? And so those kind of things in terms of emotional trading, people have to be really careful of in the beginning, just to make sure they control those and always are cognizant of, is this an emotional play that I'm making because I lost some money earlier today and now I'm trying to revenge trade and I may inevitably put myself, in a worse hole, or what is it, right? So it's really just kind of analyzing all of that. But yeah, definitely the emotions of trading is a thing to teach always to any new trader.
First and foremost, yeah,
Oh yeah.
that makes sense. You know what? And I joined a Discord trading room, back I guess during pandemic. Well, probably a couple months before pandemic happened, but I remember getting into a trade, and I started sweating, my hands started shaking.
Yep.
I
Oh
really
yeah. And we've all been there. Oh yeah.
I wanted to win. It was more so like, I didn't really have too much on the line, but I was like, okay, like I'm in this trade, like is it going to go my way? Is it not? And then
Right.
I would always sell for a loss, and then everybody else sell for a win, and I'm like, I should have just held on. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't follow, yeah. But
Exactly.
it will definitely mess you up.
Exactly. And
We'll
that's the
talk.
hardest part is, you don't want to create unnecessary mental stress, you know, at all, really in your day-to-day life. And so there's certain levels of risk tolerance that people talk about, which is what it comes down to with trading is it's all about risk tolerance. And so again, how you trade and what kind of trader you become really is dictated by what's your risk tolerance. Are you okay looking at a chart, on the minute by minute and seeing the candlesticks move and being able to stomach, the ups and downs of a very rapid movement? Or are you the kind of trader that just wants to buy, turn off the app, don't even check it again for the next week, and then maybe next week as a swing trade, it's in a better position. So again, there's always different ways to kind of handle those situations.
All right. So for this next one, this is kind of a two-parter question here. So what was the implication on your trading community with the global pandemic? So obviously you guys started before that, things were looking good, everything was up, and then pandemic happens, which obviously everything was up too, but it was, a little more rocky. So what was the implication that you saw within your trading community?
So, what a great question, Jackson, because that brings up a very vivid memory that I had during a very specific time when the markets were crashing, and it was one of those days where the market literally had to halt due to volatility, reopened, and then it kept dropping, so it halted again, reopened, and then halted again, and all in a single day, just multiple halts, just because of the nature of it. And I remember sitting in the community and we're just commentating live, talking about what we're seeing and what's going on, the insanity of the entire market crashing. And then I remember one of our guys had said, guys, like, this is something that you guys, like, everyone's probably going to remember for the rest of their lives is us going through these moments right now and watching this market crash. And to this day, I still remember that of, wow, like those days when we're sitting inside Discord, watching the markets and reading the news and seeing it all coming down very, very rapidly. But yeah, the implications of the entire kind of pandemic in the trading server as a whole, though, only accelerated us further because so many people always know the mantra buy low, sell high. And when they see the markets drop so significantly in such a short amount of time, they also know that most likely it's going to come back and rebound. And so the surgence of people wanting to come to our community and learn only skyrocketed our business further, which is really primarily the reason why we were able to get to 1 million ARR in just 10 months of being in business.
Nice. So you took like kind of a bad situation and made it good
Oh,
almost.
yeah.
So to piggyback off of that question, right? Did the pandemic change your trading strategy since obviously pre-pandemic? And
Sure.
then like did you start trading different things? Did you go from equity to options or like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, that's another great question. It absolutely did change. One of the things that I used to enjoy doing is swing trading because a lot of times being in my full time work, I don't have the leisure to be able to day trade all the time. So for me, I used to like buying and holding positions, whether it be stocks and equity or maybe just long term calls or leaps and those kind of things. But for the most part, I always took the bullish stance that things are good. Most likely, if you just buy and hold for a year or two, by that time it's probably going to be higher than it is today. So you're good to go. But a lot of that has changed, especially ever since 2010 to 2018, 2019. That whole 8-year, 9-year bull run. And then after that, 2020 starts rolling around and you have COVID hitting and the markets are crashing. When you're a long-term equities trader or stock trader, it's very difficult for you to bet against the market, short of you short selling and taking on those kind of positions. But again, not every trading account allows you to short sell. So the next best option is options, and the ability to buy a call or buy a put. So I did notice that before I used to buy a lot of stocks and equity and long-term calls and those kind of things. But as pandemic hit and as the volatility just went out the roof and there were just a lot of opportunities being presented, I started trading more short-term, more options contracts, more calls, more puts, those kind of things, just depending on what was going on. But absolutely, I started turning from more of a longer term kind of trader to more of a how can I capitalize on the short term things that are happening right now, and so also like entry positions, because when the market is down, it's always, as a long term trader, a great opportunity to buy things at a discount. So there's just different ways that I've kind of looked at it, but I did definitely move to a lot more shorter term expiration, shorter term plays, just so I can get in and out a lot faster.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, yeah, when things are up and down like that, you don't really want to stay in there for a while.
Exactly.
You never know. So going back to your community now, so as people are going back to work, obviously everybody was home for the last 2 years. Now people are away from their computers more. How are you able to keep members in your community?
Yeah. So one of the hardest things with any kind of Discord community is the real time nature of it, where if you're not there in person, active, reading every single message, you may miss a lot of things. And so that's why, one, we have to be very careful in terms of how we market our services. So we're finding the right people. We don't want to ever misconstrue what we're doing so that people don't, understand and have kind of false expectations in that way. But it is a very active community where the more active you are, the more you gain out of it. But the other part of it is also providing more different kind of resources to the customer with the membership beyond just the chat element of it. So there's a lot of other things like video classes and video courses that we've created that we offer to our members. There's ebooks that we've put together. And there's a lot of like one-on-one sessions and webinars that we hold as well. So even if you can't necessarily be there at 9:30 in the morning every single day, part of that conversation, well, there's still that webinar that goes on Thursday that you can still be a part of. That's still incredibly valuable, to listen to. There's still a lot of resources that people can still do on their own time. And that is one of the biggest things that I've kind of shifted my focus towards as well, which is kind of something I mentioned before, which is self-service, but the ability for people to be able to service themselves essentially. But part of that model is around education and being able to do self-service learning. So rather than having to be in a class at 8 p.m. for 2 hours and listen to an instructor speak and take quizzes and so forth, sometimes it's better to be able to have your own self-paced class online, being able to go chapter by chapter on your own time, watching the videos, taking the quizzes at the end, making sure you understand all that information. So again, those are things that we also offer inside of our what we consider our academy. But again, these self-service, self-paced kind of learning modules. So again, people who may not have always all the time during the day can still do these in the evening.
Nice. That's good. Solid. Nice hub. Nice hub.
Thank you. Yeah, you have to.
Makes sense. Yeah, because same thing for me. Like I joined a trading community. I didn't know anything. I didn't know a single thing, man. I was watching people type, and I'm like, I would Google, whatever they're talking about.
Exactly.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay, that's what they're talking about. So for this next question, you pretty much answered it in a previous question, but was this the first recession you've personally traded in, or did you happen to trade in 2008? I know we were probably pretty young for that, but
Yep. Definitely pretty young for that. I probably had the opportunity to trade at that time, but never even crossed my mind, nor was I ever exposed really to trading at that age. This is for sure the first recession that I've ever been able to trade through and actively follow and kind of watch. And so, yeah, it's been very enlightening though, because I think with everything, there's a lot of times and moments where you're like, oh, I think this is going to happen, and you're so sure that this is going to happen, but then the complete opposite happens. And so part of being through a recession is seeing and experiencing those different market conditions and how companies react to it, and identifying those opportunities as well. Because again, it's not always so easy as an 8-year bull run where you just only need to buy calls and you'll make money.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe if you're lucky, we'll get another recession. No, only kidding, only kidding. So yeah, we'll start to end it here. But what new projects do you have for your community? New projects you're working on outside of your community? Anything that you can say to the viewers here? Anything?
Sure. So, one of the projects, or I guess companies, that I'm working on is Ternary Developments, which is the second company that I founded and CEO'd. Just a quick little plug for Ternary. It's a B2B SaaS platform that allows you to manage your Discord server, but giving you tools such as CRM to be able to manage all of your customers. We allow you to connect email addresses and attach them to Discord IDs. So no matter where they're contacting you from, you can search for them inside of a user database and immediately identify, who that person is. But then we also have a bunch of marketing tools built in. So things like segmentation, so based on what the person is reacting on inside of the Discord server with an emoji, we can actually isolate that and say, okay, here are the 80 people that left this emoji, and here are all the email addresses for those people, so that you can then segment and possibly market to them with some kind of campaign. So really, for any viewer out there that may have a following, or may be interested in getting into the creator economy space, and are looking to maybe start their own Discord servers, I definitely recommend you come check out ternarydev.com. It's TERNARYDEV.com. And from there, you can see what we do.
Very cool. That's smart for the emoji thing. That's genius, man.
Right? It's
That's
because
really
personalization is so important. And so nowadays, you can't just generically send content and expect the same kind of results as before. So when it says, hey, Jackson, thanks for being a 3-month member here. Hey, here's a quick reward for you. That just completely changes the game in terms of your engagement now with that email versus just a generic blast and batch and blast.
makes sense. So where can the viewers find it? Can they reach out to you? Can anybody
Yeah,
that
they can absolutely reach out to me.
yeah,
So I'm on LinkedIn, and you can find me at Jason Lee. I'll also provide all my social links to Jackson, so he can include that anywhere this audio gets posted, or the video gets posted. But yeah, LinkedIn is great to find me there. You can find me on Instagram at Option Swing, and at Ternary Developments.
cool, cool. That pretty much wraps it up, man. Relatively quick show. We're at 22 minutes and some change here, but thanks for being on, man. Hopefully we have you on in the future if you want to do it again.
I
Uh,
absolutely would.
cool.
Yeah, this was
And
a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Jackson, for having me.
of course, man, thanks for being on the first episode, first one.